I think the kind of the ethos of the band was kind of going back to the formation of it. Really was just to kind of try and look again at the folk rock thing and to try and make it contemporary and make it relevant to the stuff that we'd sort of grown up listening to and the stuff that we liked.
I think if there's an ethos, it's not feeling that everything has to be put in its own separate box. You know, that traditional music and the popular music that we like can coexist in a thing that hasn't been set in stone since the 60s.
I definitely say that it wasn't. It's not as. I guess we see what we're doing. If a continuation of the evolution of electric guitar, folk music, whatever you want to call it, folk rock, rather than a rejection of everything that's gone before.
Folk music can be quite introspective and introverted, I suppose, and this is a band for everybody. You know, it's an us band. I think the communal thing of when you're at a big festival and the band's going for it and the whole crowd is behind them is a feeling unlike any other. And we wanted to make the songs that could deliver that feeling, really.
Yeah, it's kind of an outward-facing project, isn't it? In terms of we're sort of, we want the audience to enjoy what
Definitely.
we do.
I mean,
there's nothing kind of there's no kind of conceit there. It's just we just want to enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely.
So we played Folk East in August, and we headlined that, and that was kind of that was our first gig really, and it was sort of like it was a massive shock to the system to be able to kind of get up there and to really let loose on this music that we've been creating, privately for the last year or so, and it was kind of a lot of letting go after quite a lot of controlled sort of thoughtful work, and that was. In a way, that's sort of where we want to be with it. We want it to be more of a kind of a chance to let go live and to do, to jump around.
So, I've worked with Nick Cook on and off for 8 or 9 years now, quite a long time. And he, I think because we worked together for so long, like I know the way he plays and he knows what I'm thinking generally. But he plays the most unmelodian-y things on a melodeon. That's the real thing. He does things that other melodeon players can't or wouldn't, and he makes them work. But he's very hardworking and he's got an amazing ear for music. He's got an amazing ear for where he can fit in when there isn't an obvious part, you know. Tom Moore, I've known for quite a long time, since he was quite young, with his band More Moss Rutter. And all three of them in that band are incredible players and are good friends. But Tom, I guess, brings a bit of youthfulness relative to us, but he's just such a sort of precise fiddle player. He's just such a responsive player. I mean, I some of the other people in the band hadn't ever met Tom before, and I remember on the first couple of days of rehearsal, just their delight at playing with him. Really, I think it was a big surprise to people like John.
Yeah, he's a great player.
Yeah.
So I've played with Sam Nadell for a good few years now. He's sort of one of the first musicians that I sort of met and clicked with when I moved to London. So he kind of became part of my band for my solo work, and has just always been a really solid drummer. And I guess in a way we've always sort of talked about the fact that he's sort of had to rein it in just a little bit on my solo stuff. Obviously, if you kind of can't really go pounding in there when it's a quiet ballad sort of thing. So I think Sam has really relished the prospect of being able to sort of play a similar style of music, but with a bit more oomph. And he's definitely kind of risen to the challenge and is a real asset to the band and kind of keeps us all together musically. So
The whole team is just such a good. Such a dream come true in a way. I mean,
we have sort of picked quite exuberant. This is just like a general chat now. We have picked sort of quite exuberant players, haven't we? Generally, they're not like, we don't have anyone that's like a kind of weird guys. We're the only people in the band that
is actually like usually when you put a band together, and usually when you go off
you
on
just
tour,
think in terms of personality, they're all pretty sort of
there's always somebody
people,
who's not having a good time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hold my hand up and say that's usually me.
Normally it'd be
but it's just been great from start to finish, really.
Yeah.
So I mean, we had a late night half cut conversation about forming a band, and I think the conversation ended with, "But no one's going to take a chance on us. Oh, what a shame! That'll never happen."
Yeah.
And then John and Becky Marshall Potter from Folk East Festival, and Silas Kendall took a huge risk on us and were so generous and accommodating, and they moved they moved the earth to have us do our thing, really. And we've got so much, a sort of ongoing gratitude to them for taking a chance.
Yeah.
And then the next thing we did was we went to Lincolnshire. Yeah. Sam and I went for a romantic retreat to a log cabin for a week to write.
The project was Sam and Jim's folk rock project at that point, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah. But also, I mean, the other working title. So part of the original plan was to unite sort of some of the American traditional songs that Sam has worked with, and with some of the English stuff that I know a bit better. And he said it would be great, because it'll be like a meeting of the American material and the English material, and we could call it the Special Relationship. And I had to point out that everybody calling it Sam and Jim's Special Relationship maybe wasn't the best idea.
Especially not when we told them we were going to a log cabin for a romantic weekend in the countryside.
No.
To collaborate.
But luckily we came up with a different title. The electric guitar in folk music is one of those things where there's a lot of people who do it to a certain standard, and then there's maybe 2 or 3 huge, totems of folk rock guitar playing. So I suppose, and there aren't that many electric guitar players in the current folk scene, really. I mean, partly because there's less big bands, less electric bands.
I guess the shredding thing was sort of less prominent in the generation of rock that we would have grown up listening to as well. In the 90s, solos were kind of not a cool thing, and that was sort of still holds true.
And I think all of the guitar players that we have in common as well, that we like in common, all don't really, aren't that blues
kind of
based.
Shreddy solos.
So it's Richard Thompson or Mark Rebo or Johnny Greenwood or it's the people that make a different noise with their stuff. Yeah. I mean, but as well as that, it's people like Nick Jones and Martin Simpson and Bert Jansch, who are trying to go beyond just playing chords and making them making and strumming.
Yeah.
The things that have gone into the record, I always wanted to make it quite diverse, but I think they've been more diverse than I even thought we would do. Going from child ballads to sacred harp music, there's a bit of sort of 90s R&B Timbaland stuff in there. There's a bit of sort of noisy, Radioheady, skronky noise. There's a bit of
some anthemic sort
of
hymnal rock.
There's a bit of sort of indie jazz stuff in there. And then a bit of English fiddle tunes, 3/2 hornpipes and stuff that Tom brings.
Sounds weird, but it makes sense when you listen to it.
I hope so.